Except where them hands, where them holes, where them throws, you know what I'm saying? See,
So I was looking over at the Ladders, and the Ladders is a job site. I like to go there not because I'm looking for a job right now, but because they have very good articles about how to get along at work. So if you want to consider this a media review, you can. I highly recommend the Ladders, even if you don't post your resume there. You should go and sign up for the subscription so you can get their articles. And a lot of times, the stuff they tell you about how to get along at work can also bleed over into just getting along with people in general, and can even be applied to other situations like the martial arts. They have an article called Seven Ways You're Insulting Your Boss Without Knowing It. This article really made me chuckle, not because it's false, but because it's true, and because I know I've done these, not necessarily at work, but I've definitely done a lot of these over the years as a student. And then students turn around and do it to me. I don't really get too mad, but I just look like it's karma. Look at it like it's karma. So I'm going to put a link to the original article below so you can see how it applies in a business setting. But I'm also going to talk about how it applies in a martial arts setting. So this will be 7 ways you're insulting your instructor without even knowing it. But the original article is written by Lindsay Tigar. So here we go. The first thing is you talk politics. Now, you know, in the martial arts context, we've got all kinds of politics. You have style versus style. You have traditional martial arts versus MMA. And in some areas, you may even have school of Federation A against school of Federation B. And you start talking about how this is effective and that's not effective and things like that, especially when your instructor knows that you don't know what you're talking about, but you really do think you know what you're talking about. That's one way that you could be assaulting your instructor without it knowing it. Now, most of us take that type of stuff in stride, so I like to think of it as you're just pretty much annoying me without knowing it, or you're just wasting my time without knowing it, or you're making me look at you like, this person really doesn't know what they're talking about. So any type of political discussions, this is not Democrat, Republican, libertarian, capitalist, conservative. This is, I think boxing is better because it's more realistic, because they allow more contact. And your instructor's thinking, well, that may not really be worth it for you to do that because you're not a professional fighter and you could get CTE. So you're going to be getting CTE without the thousands and millions of dollars that a professional fighter's thing, so it may not be worth for you. Like I'm getting political right now. I'll tell people boxing is really a nice place to visit for every single martial artist, but you have to watch your level of contact. And see, that's another political discussion. Level of contact, high contact, low contact. How long should you do it? So talking politics, especially if you want to do it in the middle of class when, I'm supposed to be instructing and you want to try to bring up a political conversation instead of, practicing, that can be a little annoying. Another one, point number 2 in this article is you correct them. I don't mind being corrected, but if I'm trying to explain something and then you're going to turn around and you're going to try to correct me, that can be a little annoying, but sometimes I allow it. What's really truly annoying to me is when you're wrong. You're trying to correct me about something and you absolutely positively don't know what you're talking about. If you really don't know what you're talking about a style, don't try to correct the person that's teaching it. Really, in fact, if you don't have a black belt in that style and they're talking about that style, why would you correct them in that style? Here's a good example. I'll just make this up on top of my head. Now, if I'm in Taekwondo and I'm telling you how to throw a front kick for Taekwondo, then that's how we do it for Taekwondo. But you're going, well, in Muay Thai, we do it this way and this is better. But that may be true, but I'm trying to show you how to do it for the context of this martial art. Every art has reasons why they do everything. Now, what you really should do if you really want to show or share a different technique with the instructor, talk to him or her after class about it. But when you try to correct the instructor during class, not only is it rude, and a lot of people who are more traditionally minded than I am are going to really feel like it's being disrespectful, you're slowing down the pace of the class. Let's let the people get the information out. Oh, and a really good one is when you're trying to correct the instructor, when the instructor's correcting you, when the instructor's trying to tell you that you're doing something wrong, you're like, no, I'm doing it this way. Now, I understand some of us, like me, even with some of my kicks, There's certain ways I really can't do them because of just the way my body is put together. But you know what a good instructor will do? They will tell you, I want you to do it this way. Some instructors I've had have even, I didn't find this out until I started teaching. They changed the way that they wanted me to do certain forms. Really not because they had a limitation, but because they used to have really, really, really good flexibility. So they would have me do it this way to show off the flexibility. Where other people, they'd have them do it another way because they didn't have that flexibility. So trying to correct the instructor. Oh, and the good one is, well, we did it like this in my other school. People change forms all the time, just like I said, to either show off a strength of a student or to correct a weakness of a student. There's even one form I know how to do. I do it going forward because I used to back up too much in sparring. So the instructor taught me to do a variation. And what I do with my students is I put the original and the variation together. So for that sequence of moves, they're doing it two different ways. And they learn it and it works. You are always late. Enough said. When you're late, you're not learning as much as you should. When you're late a lot, unless you tell me ahead of time, which good students will do, they'll say, I'm sorry, I'm going to be late for blah, 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 blah. Either the student or parent will say, well, they got to get off work, they're going to class, they're going to the doctor, they're going to school, they got to do this and blah, blah, blah. All kinds of stuff. So we're going to be late. That's fine. Because see, then if I know that, then I can work with you around that. But when you're always late, a lot of times I assume that people are late because they don't want to go through the forms and the fitting practices. They just want to get to the sparring, to the punching and kicking, to the judo randori. They don't want to learn the forms. There's some people that are so bad, they don't even want to learn pinning sequences. They want to be late because they think the good stuff is coming at the end of class because that's how most people teach it. Most schools I've been to, regardless of style, you go through your technique and your teaching first, and then at the end is when you spar. So it doesn't work because when I know you're doing that, I move the sparring to the front of the class. So when you come in, you still going to learn. So stop coming in late. Okay? But if you got to come in late, just let me know. Trust me, I understand. You interrupt them. That really goes back to everything else I've said. When you're interrupting your instructor while he or she is talking, you're slowing down the pace of the class, you're keeping other people from learning, and it just makes the instructor think that you're some kind of know-it-all that he or she cannot train. And we're really getting into, here's another thing right here. You know, when you're interrupting them, especially when it's a child that feels like he or she can interrupt an adult, you know what that does when children do that, when you're always interrupting your teacher? Even if your teacher is patient like I am, I'm pretty patient, your parents get mad at you. So any adults watching this who have children who are martial artists, tell them to stop interrupting their instructor when the instructor is talking. Now, here's one caveat. If you've got to go to the bathroom, please let me know you've got to go to the bathroom. You can raise your hand and say, I'm sorry, I got to go to the bathroom. Okay? I'm not going to get into why, but just please let me know that if you have to go to the bathroom, okay? All right. I think this is the last one. You throw meetings off track. You throw class off track. Meetings, corporate world, martial arts world, you're throwing classes off track because you're not following directions, because you don't want to respect the levels of contact, because you want to do things the way you want to do them. You want to bring weapons into premises where you know they don't allow weapons. That type of thing. You know, basically, if you don't want to go along with somebody else's program, then you shouldn't be studying with him or her, okay? When they're teaching the class, he or she sets the tone. If you don't like that tone, find another lake to swim in, or better yet, form your own lake. This here talks about people cracking jokes during class. That usually doesn't happen with children. So you make assumptions about their life. That doesn't necessarily apply to a martial arts instructor. in a way that you would say it applies in a work setting. But I will say this. For me, making assumptions about the life of a martial arts instructor would be more like you assume this is one of my favorite things. I could go make a video about this just by itself. You assume that if a person has not dedicated their entire life to a martial arts, that they're not good enough to instruct you. Okay? Now, I'll compare myself to Michael Jai White because we are leagues apart. And he's in the big league, and I am not. Okay? And I don't think he's so fragile that he will go off because I mentioned his name. Okay? He should know he's clearly better than me. But this is what gets me, right? So let's say it's between me and Michael Jai White. And now, if you were going to become a professional fighter or something like that, and I even tell people, I can't help you become a professional fighter. I'm a recreational martial artist. I can help you improve, especially if you know nothing. And if nothing else, you should try to get a black belt from me because I'm the only person that I know where getting your black belt is definitely going to be inexpensive, if up to not free, including you won't even have to pay for your belt tests. I know I can guarantee that right now. But you think that because I'm not Michael Jai White, that you can't learn from me. Or you think that you can't fight. Or you think that I can't fight. Or you think that because someone else, I'm not going to go into that example. That's too specific. Don't assume, especially when you don't know anything, you've never taken any lessons, you probably haven't really been in a fight since the 3rd grade, and you don't really know anything about martial arts yourself. If you're not a professional fighter, don't think that the only people who can teach you is somebody who is on the Michael Jai White level, or who's on the what is his name? I cannot believe I can't remember his name. He's one of my favorite MMA guys. But anyway, don't think that you can't learn from a martial arts instructor just because he's never been a professional fighter. I would even dare I say, even if it's something like like Muay Thai or boxing, where it's more of an assumption that you want to learn from somebody that's a pro. If you don't know anything, then stop acting like the person has to be the greatest fighter in the world to teach you. You don't know anything. And this is really going to hit hard, but I don't really care. Your 4-year-old, your 5-year-old, your 6-year-old, they don't need to learn from Michael Jai White at this point in their development. They really don't. You don't need Michael Jai White to come and tell you how to stand at June B. You don't need Michael Jai White to come and tell you how to do a forward roll. Even if you trained with me and then you went over to Michael Jai White and he tweaked how you did your forward roll a little bit to make it that much better, I would say that's great. But you don't need that level of experience to teach you how to do the very, 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 very basics. I think a more relatable analogy would be thinking that you can only learn how to swim from Michael Phelps when you don't know how to swim at all. When you just need someone to keep you from drowning. You don't even know how to float, but you think that you can't study with the local swim coach. You got to go find Michael Phelps. No. Stop making assumptions that because you've never heard about this person, that this person is not competent. Look at their credentials and check your gut. Those are 2 things. Look at their credentials. I'll say 3 things. Look at their credentials, watch a class, see how he or she teaches, and then trust your gut on top of that, okay? Don't assume that we have to live all of our lives all the time, just constantly kicking or constantly going through forms in order to be able to teach you something, okay? Especially, this what gets me is like, if you don't want to be a full-time martial artist yourself, why do you think you can only learn from people who are full-time martial artists? It really makes no sense. I mean, to me, it's like it's basically a form of arrogance. But you know what? if you really feel that way, and this is the beauty of it too, is that you really don't insult me by feeling or thinking that way. Because I feel like if you really felt like, that I'm just not good enough to teach you, all you would do is be passive aggressively resisting what I'm trying to teach you anyway. And in the long run, you're just going to quit regardless. So, if you just got to be that way, I prefer that you just don't show up. Okay, that's just how it is. So these are 7 ways that you are insulting your instructor without knowing it. But please go read the original article if you're in corporate land like I am, so you can know 7 ways you're insulting your boss without knowing it. So I am not the boss where I work, but I am the boss of my classes. And that's why this thing really makes me chuckle, because now I got to make sure that I'm not going to do this when I go back to work tomorrow. So thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this with people who like to talk about the martial arts. And peace.